different things to consider in the map draft will be Braxis removed, actually, for Mighty, but Cursed Hollow removed by L5, so a map that we're seeing getting banned more and more often, and the map pick will be Mighty's. It is going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yep, Tomb of the Spider Queen. And Mighty, because L5 is so strong with the macro, Mighty has decent macro, but they were more always focused in team fighting, and it seems like they want to go towards the team fight. And as we just mentioned, I think Stitches will highly likely to be banned from the first ban phase, or even picked for the first pick or the second rotations coming in. So I think that's one of the most contested pick, along with Uther, which L5 does not really prefer too much, because Sway wants to go with Ariel, it seems like, a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's kind of, this is more going back towards what I was talking about, this hyper carry that we're seeing so often. And when you have the Ariel, it really empowers that. And that will be the first ban here coming out for L5. Immediately removing the Ariel, not going to give it a chance to appear. We'll look towards the Genji ban here for Mighty, as they want to get rid of that. So this would allow Hooligan to first pick Anubarak. That's definitely a possibility on this battleground, because you can use him to gank very quickly, roam the lanes, and his Beetles do a lot to deny turn-ins. So not going to be that, though. We'll be moving towards the Tassadar.
Yep, that was the second most pick when they had the first pick. It was oftentimes Genji, which they have 3 out of 3 on win rate. So Genji's banned. So second one is Tassadar, and right after Ariel. So there's a Tassadar and Stitches. Perfect pair up. Malfurion, even before the ban phase, they really prioritize that highly because of the CC. It seems like Mighty wants to go towards the double support way, which they have been doing okay. L5 actually, Mighty does not has the worst win rate with the double support. In all 7 games, has 43%.
Yeah, it's not a weak composition for them, or it's not a strong composition for them. It's a weak one. But with this one, you know, we can't necessarily assume that it is going to be the double support. Much so we can for L5, however. And the hero that they will empower, that's the big question. Vala is one that you normally see only with the Ariel, only with the Trinity that we talk about so often. So this could be leaning towards an Illidan composition later, but it also could be that Greymane is the hyper carry here for L5. So they have options for sure. I think Greymane is the safe pick right now, but they absolutely could look to grab the Vala if they think that they have enough sustained support here with the now Uther and the Tassadar. But it's Tracer, in fact, that they take. And this is quite an unusual draft. It's not the first time we've seen Tracer. In fact, we saw her last weekend, but she was 5th picked, and it was a forced pick on Tracer because they couldn't get what they wanted. They were denied in the ban phase. But this is high priority, and this is an unusual draft we're seeing now for L5.
Because Stitches was also already taken away from Mighty. They want to hide their tanks, actually. This is unlikely from L5 coming out with this new patch. Bringing Tracer in already because Malf is taken from the other side, has a solid CC. But Tracer with lots of target hooks, actually. Non-target hooks. It's really hard to catch Tracer. Those blinks can actually help you escape so easily. But if he hooks onto Uther, that's a target I think that Joker has to go for from Mighty's side.
Medivh ban here. So this is becoming more common because he empowers the carry heroes so well, and you still have to consider the Illidan, the Greymane here on the side of Mighty, and the combos with Medivh and Stitches with the Gorge portals are really terrifying on this map because you can roam so quickly with the portals, you can grab those Gorge picks, and because of the weak objective on this map, you often have forts up for a long time, so that means that there's a lot more opportunity to use those Gorge picks in the early game. On a map where the objective kills forts very quickly, like Battlefield of Eternity, you don't have as many opportunities to go for those because the forts are simply destroyed already. So I like this this ban of the Medivh for those reasons mentioned. We still don't know what Mighty is thinking for DPS. They have long sustained healing with Malfurion. They've got a solid tank in the Stitches, but Malfurion doesn't empower, say, a Greymane as well as a support like Uther can. But they're going to pick him anyways.
Greymane, if they want to lock onto Tracer, they can still bring in Varian for the taunt. I think Stitches may not be enough to go against Tracer with lots of auto attacks coming in. It's Rag instead. Ragnaros does not have a good win rate in Korea, especially sometimes comes out in Spider Queens, but only if you have the super late game. And please, no more Lava Wave. No more Lava Wave, please. I don't want to see any Lava Waves tonight. Though I think this is mostly just for turn-in denial.
And they're going to struggle in that regard because of how well Tracer and Tassadar actually allow you to deny turn-ins. So getting their gems deposited is going to be quite an issue. I feel like the draft for Mighty is lacking a theme. There's no synergy between any of the heroes except for the Malfurion and Stitches, which is it's a strong synergy. You have the roots there for the hooks, but there's no other big follow-up for Mighty until Sulfuria Smash comes out. But it feels like Greymane with just the Malfurion isn't going to be able to do a whole lot. Ragnaros as well is going to be dangerous for him to be in the solo lane because Tracer can come for the ganks. I'm liking the draft of L5 a lot better. See what they rounded out with here. Going to be the Falstad. We talked about this a lot.
Ooh.
And that's going to allow them to split push and the Tyrael here to just help protect Tracer. So both Falstad and Tracer could be pseudo-hyper carries here, especially because Falstad is going to have marksman stacks. He's going to have his lifesteal healing when he gets hammer gains. And if Tyrael's got the sanctification down, he just heals himself up. Imagine how quickly, when you have a ton of stacks on Falstad and you have hammer gains and you have Tassadar's lifesteal healing and you're protected by sanctification, you go from 0 to full health basically so quickly.
I think with Tyrael and I think solo Tracer was going a little bit too much, and bringing in Falstad makes a lot more sense. I think SDE, from what we've been seeing so far, he can pull it off. Not on a Sake level though. I think he will die in solo lane if he gets caught by Rag or those hooks coming out from the side with the CC pair-ups. So he has to be careful. So there's extra protection with Uther, Tassadar, and also Tyrael. But that's after 10. Their wave clear is also decent with a global. They will do just fine to catch up with the macro, and Mighty will be looking for picks.
I wonder if Mighty just picks a safe second DPS here. Well, this is not the safe one I was looking for. I was thinking maybe a Li Ming or a Tychus.
That's away from safe.
Yeah, that is not safe. And you're picking a Sergeant Hammer with the solo laner Ragnaros against the Tracer and the Falstad. The gank potential with the fly-ins, the Gust, Tracer's Pulse Bomb. I like the draft of L5 immensely more. Mighty's draft is going to be based on picks. It's going to be based off of getting the right hooks at the right time, getting an early game lead, and then snowballing it in, having Sergeant Hammer for the siege power to push with the Spider Queens to make sure they get maximum value. I worry already for Mighty in this series as we go into game number 1, but we'll see if L5 is able to take it as we move into Tomb of the Spider Queen. In blue, Team Mighty, Joker on Stitches, BDG on Sergeant Hammer, Good on Ragnaros, Nasong on Malfurion, and Magi on Greymane.
And in red, L5, Polygon on Tyrael, SCSE on Tracer, Jongha on Tassadar, SDE on Falstad, and Swoi on Uther.
So when the last pick Hammer came in, you know, everyone had to consider the possibility we would see Mage Falstad because of the burst damage that can kill the Hammer very quickly. But when you're building a composition around the double support with the Tassadar, Uther, Seasoned Marksman is just definitely the better way to go. I think, sure, you could make the argument for the burst damage with Mage Falstad, but this is just much better. And
maybe
see if they can make it happen, man.
Maybe they just thought they needed extra damage to burst through all those shields and healing coming out from L5. The meta right now, the dirty way of playing right now is to really have an early snowball early fight, really go out with the macro, or have the team fight, win it with an early strong team comp, and then play dirty. Go around to not fight until you have the exact moment when you have the talent lead, when you have those chances. We saw a lot of those games coming out from Fnatic and MVP Flag.
Yeah.
I think Mighty, with this strong early game pick, if they get picks, if they get 2 or 3 kills from the beginning, they can do exactly that. And L5 do have the global to catch up though, so they have to be a little bit careful.
I think you're absolutely right, and that's what L5 just needs to be patient here in this early game, not overextend trying to get ganks on BDG, not right now. Unfortunately, no follow-up for this, so even though the hook was good, doesn't matter. But yeah, I think as long as L5 plays safe in the early game, they don't get over-aggressive, then they should be fine. Mighty needs to find more than these empty hooks that don't mean anything if they want to move on here, if they want to advance. And they're just struggling so far. I like the choice, by the way, of Scouting Drone from Malfurion at level 1 is going to help them against those pesky Tracer plays.
Also, with the pair-ups, it seems like the gank failed for the moment. SCE has been a pretty good small set, and if he does not get hooked and picked just like that, I think he's all good. If you have the global, go to the late game. You have the macro for your team.
Well, they are at least pushing these lanes, winning the fights because of the aggressive rotations. Here's another hook, but unfortunately just comes up a little bit too short. There was no trust there either from the Malfurion to pre-route that.
Another Storm build coming out, and this time on Jeonghwa. It used to be locked down only from Korea basically, but a lot of players have been picking that talent up, doing some more damage along with basically a little bit more wave clear in the late game too.
SC is playing with fire here against BDG. Actually didn't have the shield there to get his life back, so ended up taking a ton of damage. But yeah, the Sidestorm build is really cool, and it's also going to lend into Tastor being a major damage dealer later on with Twilight Archon. So, you know, on this map in Korea, we're very likely to get post 20, so that's something that you can build towards the extra DPS.
May not even if Mighty cannot get those hooks, just like it seemed. You can already tell that Joker is very pressured. He's throwing the Qs every single time, even in those blind spots. He just wants to get those Qs hooked because Malfurion is standing right next to him the entire time. But no, L5 knows exactly where Stitches is every time, and they are away from that hook range.
SC just going to look for that pick there, but really safe hammer play. But again, safe is not the way for Mighty right now. They need picks, they need to find value, and if they just walk into level 10 dead even, then I don't think that they're going to have a very good fighting chance. Here's finally the roots we're looking for onto Hooligan. Actually just barely gets out there, has the self-shielding, avoids that cocktail damage. But we need to see more moves like this. This needs to be happening every time Hook is off cooldown.
It should have already happened at least twice or 3 times in this game. And Mighty, L5 is happy. They are waiting for 10. They're not really behind in EXP. They have even more wave clear potential with Pulse at level 7. So after that, I think Mighty has a lot less chance after 7 and after 10. L5 will actually take control of the team fights and try to do all the damage, the tracer damage around you. Here's the hook, and there's the first kill.
Okay, we need to see more of these. Good should be fine here. You got the Malfurion healing. Even without it, I think he was just barely fine there. We need to see this continued. We need to see more aggressive positioning out of Stitches, because without it, these picks aren't possible. But that was good trust again. The call was there, made, and we saw the Tangan roots come down, so very well done. The follow-up damage as well. Nice hook there. See, even though that failed, this is what I want to see more of, even if it's a miss, is to just throw the hook out there. You get the target. If you had already used this dimensional shift for any reason, you get it. And now they have total control of the turn-ins. We talked about how difficult it was going to be for L5 to deal with these turn-in points. So all it takes is one pick. They immediately get the Web Weavers as a result. And they need to carry this momentum forward. This needs to be massive damage. And that's why the hammer pick is there. Because Sergeant Hammer is not here for the team fighting. She is here in this game to do extra siege damage, to make sure that when they get an early game lead, they can snowball it, because she's got such big pushing power here. Remember, she is a specialist, not a DPS, and that's where this extra range damage comes in the siege mode. And most compositions can't get that much value out of the Web Weavers, but when you have a Greymane and a Hammer, you're going to get a lot out of this first one. Might even be able to get a fork. Yeah,
they are actually, this is exactly why they're trying to push all lanes. L5 also has a pretty decent wave clear, so they're also not losing any EXP. They're soaking up every single thing, because if they know they fall behind too much from the early game, they will be behind. So they're coming in, but not 10 though.
Not 10. The fly in there for SDE would have been nice if he had the 10, maybe for trying to grab a gust, but notice the patience that we saw out of BDG. Getting out there, no problem. And so the push here doesn't get a fort. It damages both the bot and mid forts, and it got them basically 2 walls. So that's going to push them towards 10. They didn't quite get it. They really wanted it, and you could almost say needed it. They could be at least decently happy with their control of this game so far. If they can get 10, force a 1 team fight, or get a pick with Stitches, and actually get a double Web Weaver turn in, that's ideal. See if they can make that happen. Joker, unfortunately, is going to be the one who gets caught, though.
And well body blocked. Tracer does do a lot of damage, and Hooligans seem to be picking up the extra damage, and even Maki's in trouble. A few more damage coming out from SD. Actually, Twilight turning things around. The smash does not connect. Looks like 1-4-0. Lots of heroics used there too.
Beautiful Twilight Dream, but unfortunately the smash was the worst. Just totally in the wrong place there. Perhaps a panic move there, unfortunately, coming out of good. But this fight, you can see that Mighty can win these fights if the Twilight Dreams are amazing, if L5 overextends. And I think part of the problem with that last fight too was Magi was trying to get the pick onto SC, and SC was just too well positioned. He was very low, but he got away. And so that meant a lot of DPS wasted.
Whoa, hook onto Tastar. Perfect timing, actually. And SD could not really get the kill. And Swoi now taking a lot of damage. Judgment coming in for Tyrael. They want to lock in one target because BDG was always and used oftentimes off to the side alone. Maybe they're trying to punish. Now this really forces the rotation of Sergeant Hammer to be together with the team. Mighty has to make a 4-man or even 5-man rotations together. Because of that, Judgment and Tracer can always come in from the side. There's the Judgment coming in. Let's see.
Well, it's on to Magi. Unfortunately, the rest of the team was nearby. Judgment not the longest cooldown in the game, but still that's going to be one missing here. So they actually want to grab a turn-in. Looks like they wanted to use this disruption to actually sneak a turn-in, but they fail as SC was caught there by BDG. BDG is going to be the target though for sure. Magi was too well positioned there. Speaking of positioning, not sure what happened here. Looks like a hook.
Yeah, it looks like a hook along with Gorge also being used possibly.
But so basically BDG is going to be the prime target. If they can catch him when he's sieged up, for example, or when he's trying to split push, or when they have a Web Weaver coming in, that's going to be how L5 is going to use this Judgment. But I'm really surprised to see it, to be honest. I understand why they picked it because of Sergeant Hammer being a pick, and also you can potentially get ganks onto Ragnaros when he's up in the top lane. But this isn't a map that's really going to work because everyone's always going to be grouped up. This would be much better, I think, on Dragonshire, where you could have those opportunities to find the pick. Would be good on Cursed Hollow, but not so much on a map where you're basically seeing these members roam as 4 or 5. And they will get the double Web Weaver turn-in they were looking for. So far, all the check boxes have checks in them for Mighty. Win the early game. Get a few early game picks with Stitches. Get the double turn-in and try to get a fort off that second push. They're just trying to put all the checks in all the boxes right now, and so far it's been pretty good. They're winning the early game, and this is what this composition needs to have, is that early game advantage.
Yeah, they can pressure the range to make sure the Tracer cannot come in from the side and do any work, or even try to stick those pulse bombs on you. Mighty's doing a perfect job with these Web Weaver pushes. They're getting the forts, and they will also try to get more, and there's a Tassadar shift. Even just forcing that to be used is a good hook enough.
It means that Tassadar has to essentially play more defensively than he was before because of that. So, still a win for sure. You're absolutely right. Well, it looks like they're going to get 2 forts for this. The third one is a little bit overzealous, I think, trying to get it. They do have a lot of sieging power and a lot of wave clear, obviously, with Sergeant Hammer and Greymane. But if they overextend here, they could get punished for it, and this means Falstat's going to get some extra. So, still, though, they're still massively ahead in EXP from the double turn-in, and they look like they really want this fort, and they're going to get it. They understand that with this composition, they need to get a keep early. They need to get that early advantage because late game is absolutely in L5's favor. They have the Falstat, who's going to get better scaling. They have the Uther for late game redemption, is going to be so powerful. So these reasons are why Mighty needs to get that early keep, and they're even going to get a turn-in from this. They are showing massive control with this draft.
They understand perfectly what they have to do against the team comp like L5, late game, Twilight Archon, the Epic Mount. They will be out-rotated, and the damage will be massive coming out. And still, towards the end of the late game, they will be looking for picks and to the Gorge. If you just dodge those, I think you're set. And Mighty just making those plays. Joker really landing on nice hooks, getting a kill on Uther, making the perfect choices, and also turning in everything they want to. They really have a high understanding of their own team comp and the enemy team comp right now.
And L5, if they end up losing a team fight, trying to contest objectives, trying to save that fort, for example, then the advantage goes further into Mighty. They cannot lose a team fight because they carry 80 gems currently. They will lose so much, and they'll basically be forced to continue to farm gems for so long. It's incredibly impressive that Mighty is still controlling this. They put fear into the hearts of L5 with these hooks, with the Stitch positioning here. They get this turn-in because Joker was just standing in the perfect place to threaten hooks. There's no forts to hide behind here for L5, so if they don't come out, they lose EXP. They have to come out to get EXP, but that means that the hooks threaten them, which allows these turn-ins. And Mighty is about to have the legendary triple turn-in that is almost never happening on this map with just 2 kills. It's crazy how much control they're showing in this early game. We're moving into the mid game realistically at this point.
Let's also see how well SD can actually pull out that macro by himself, because he has been pushing the bottom lane and he actually got the pressure off. There's a Tracer hook, actually perfect recall from SCSC to dodge the hook.
That was actually really well done. But you have to give credit too where credit is due. The route was well placed that forced the recall. Another defensive ability here that they do waste the cooldown.
The pulse bomb, the combo onto Magi, gets a kill on the Greymane.
But they still get the web weaver turn in, and that is more significant. So this shows how L5 can get picks and how they can win team fights and how they will win team fights later with obviously the pressure that's going to come in from Falstad, but they couldn't do it quickly enough. This means level 16 is on the horizon here for Mighty. They are going to put direct pressure onto the keeps. I think the goal for this push is one keep. If they can get a pick, win a fight, and get that keep, then basically all the disadvantage of the late game are taken away. Oh, but look at this Gust!
There's the Gust, and Twilight Dream is buying them time, but for not so long, and Malfurion will be taken off for sure. That's the thing. If they pick on one target just like this, and look at the flight positioning and the Gust coming out from SDE, they are catching up. They want to snowball. They do not want to stop here. They want to catch up and take as much as possible because they're holding in so many gems. If they have the lead, they can get back-to-back turn-ins and really turn this game around.
Yeah, they really can. They have so many gems carried. That was this kill, this pick, means that the goal for Mighty, remember that keep that they wanted to get, is no longer an option. It's no longer reasonable for them to actually shoot for that. This basically ends up being a wasted web weaver turn-in. There wasn't really any other objective here rather than to get a keep, or at worst case scenario, get a keep. Well, they got nothing because they were overextended. They didn't respect the Falstad. It feels like they've forgotten about that engaged potential that he has, even though he's used it several times this game. Now that they're post 10, he's showing his strength. And when we get to 20, when he has Epic Mouth, this is something, again, that Mighty will have to deal with. They've got so many squishy heroes that if they get out of position, there's no saving them. Malfurion, sure, he's got Ice Block. It saved him for just a moment. Sergeant Hammer has the thrusters, saves her for just a moment. But if you get out of position, there are no escapes. There are no reset buttons. There's no panic dimensional shift. There's no recalls. Those are on the side of L5. So the Falstad pick, when he has the good Gust, is so dangerous for Mighty to deal with.
Nicely done. And L5 has been working with, there's the longest hook I've ever seen. With the pushing hook comes in. The Gust is not completed, and Hooligan is caught. Does Arjun away, but still takes a shield.
And also, yeah, the Divine Shield is now wasted here. Such a nice move by Mighty. They deny the turn-in again. 121 gems carried by L5. Here comes the Judgment. It is going to get the pick on a BDG, but it's going to be a 1-for-1. But so much more sustained damage. STE is carrying this fight. Just like that, man. If he's untouched, he does so much DPS there. They didn't have any sustained healing either. And L5 absolutely wins this trade. They have the better late game team fighting comp, and finally they will get their first turn in. And with the forts available here, they're already ahead in EXP, but they're about to hit 20. They have 3 forts of potential extra EXP to gain that Mighty simply does not have. So this is an amazing position for L5. This is how they turn this game around.
That's exactly what they looked for. From the beginning, they knew that they were going to be behind a little bit towards the middle of the game, but towards the late game. With these kind of team fights, hooking onto right target, Hooligan actually going in all deep, sacrificing himself, leaving SCSC and Falstad to do free damage from the back line, having those protections, and on top of that, they don't lose any gems. They can get so many turned in right after this too.
I mean, this is basically guaranteed first 20, and that means that the crazy late game we've been talking about so much. I mean, what does Wolf mean? They get their late game is so much better. They're stacking the longer the game goes on. The DPS for Falstad, he's going to have Epic Mount, which means he has insane mobility. Twilight Archon is one of the most powerful level 20s in the current meta that will allow him to basically indefinitely be in Archon form, which gives him more siege power. It can help you win a game under core, for example, because Twilight Archon just is so good. When you have the extra protection from Tyrael as well as Uther, you're going to basically be able to, for the duration of a team fight, have that Archon. And oh no, already a pick here on the Stitches. This could be game ending. Look at the lifesteal coming out from SDE when he has the Divine Shield on him. Doesn't end up being completely necessary for that fight, but
it will be once they turn in all 152 gems.
54 they have. They basically have, they're sitting on 3 turn-ins. And they want a boss, actually, before this, because they know that with the last team wipe, Mighty can't turn in. So they're willing to give up the objective because there's no objective for Mighty. There's no potential turn-ins. So while Mighty gets a safe Merc camp, L5 gets an even safer free boss.
Yeah, and with the boss on the push, they can have a later turn-in, which will actually make the web weaver stronger, and they have a lot more time to have that strong very, very strong top lane push all in together. And Falstad can come in at any time. If they buy time, they can also hit 20. I think that's exactly what they were looking for.
He's just waiting for the epic mount, man. He's just chilling. Okay, he's got it now. He can fly in whenever he wants. Would be nice if he could save it to use it as an engagement tool instead of just joining. We are going to see Molten Cores used. Mighty, their backs against the wall here. This basically could be game over for them. They put all their eggs in the Stitches basket, and it is certainly not working out for them right now.
Even Smash committed for the defense there. But Web Weavers come now. Boss still half HP. Molten Core is going to go down. Now the direct damage to keep. And Judgment does not connect there to Magi. I guess he was way too far off.
Yeah,
keep those down.
Not entirely sure what happened with that judgment there. Perhaps it was interrupted and there was a UI bug or something. By the way, the keep is down, and this could be game because there's Web Weavers and a boss here on the core. If they get any picks, it is game over. Mighty has to fight for their lives right now. Joker is the target, actually. Here comes the epic mount. He gets pushed away here, away from the core, away from this defensive position. The shields are down, and Twilight Archon is active.
Yeah, there's Gorge. Twilight Archon is actually about to finish. Jungha's actually very low. Mighty can turn this around as they have no other siege pushing this. Good is looking for the kill, but seems like he's the one going down. There's a recall from SCSC. Can he do it? Seems like L5 will do it. Core's still 52% left.
There's just no way, even with the defensive usage of the heroics there and the good micro out of Mighty, it was just way too much. The Twilight Archon doing so much damage. He was so low for so long, but he just put his own shields on himself, got his own lifesteal, and he's like, Twilight Archon ain't never stopping for L5. And this is one of 2 required wins for L5. They're halfway there. They're halfway to the Eastern Clash spot secured. And for Team Mighty, they're halfway towards potential defeat here. And that game basically went exactly as you would have expected it to from looking at the draft. The early game domination, the early picks, and the game basically took a turn for the worst when we saw that first Gust pickoff where they couldn't get the keep of that Web Weaver. They needed to basically snowball the game. Step 1, they got the checks in the box, as I said. Step 2, they got it. But in Step 3, when they had the third Web Weaver push, they couldn't get the keeps. They couldn't find any value there. And that's when L5 started to turn the game around. That's when they got the proper team fights. The Gusts with the flights was something that Mighty just did not deal with properly.
Yeah, because Mighty's team comp did not have too much escapes or mobility for them, SDA could just come around from the side and gust them. They could not really snowball too much. I was hoping they could do a little bit more. They were doing a fine job, but once after 10, after 14, when all 5 got the power spike, they had the macro for themselves. SD was entirely soaking the bottom lane by himself. We started releasing all the pressure from the bot lane, and that's how the L5 macro started. They were waiting for that moment and taking the perfect flights, using the gust from the other side. Mighty really didn't have a good answer against that.
I wonder where we're going for maps, because with already the prioritization of Falstad, wanting to use the Gust and play up those team fighting combos, look for the late game. I feel like Sky Temple would be a pretty solid pick right now for L5. They have the map choice, of course, because they won, and it will be Mighty that's going to take the first ban. So I think we are going to go to the map in just a moment. We had something in our headsets there that was distracting me, but we're going to jump to the maps in just a second. Are you feeling the Sky Temple pick as well? I'm
feeling BOE a little bit more. I think BOE really comes out often in game number 2, and often when Mighty loses, and they often go for a first pick, of course. But L5 recently have been picking Battlefield of Eternity game 2. When they have the lead, they want to snowball into, because they also love Vala coming in. Sometimes we saw like MVP Black using Vala along with Tracer. I think Tracer SCSC has been doing massive damage, doing those perfect recalls. I don't think he died once in that game.
Should have gone untouchable. He messed up.
At 4, which I do, and it doesn't work quite as well for me. Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't work well for me either, but it's just so it's an addictive thing, is to just pick that and hope for the best.
It's like Twin Blade, but please, you know what's going to happen.
Don't Twin Blade. Don't do that. Unless you're playing games against the AI, in which case absolutely do that.
Yes, please.
That's what I did. I was all about that.
But that's exactly what SCSC mentioned to me yesterday, having those kind of meta, because they know the meta is go towards the early snowball, which Mighty could not snowball too much, and L5 waited for the perfect moment to actually turn that around. Seems like that is the perfect way to actually have the comeback, and SDE on Falstad was crazy, but also Tassadar. I want to see the damage that Tassadar did at the late game because that Twilight Archon was up there for at least 30 seconds.
It was a long one, and it was